बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर आपका टाइम निकालने के लिए फॉर अस। वी आर वेरी ऑनर्ड एंड वी आर वेरी प्लीज कि आपने हमें ज्वाइन किया सर। बहुत बहुत खुश आमदीद सर।
Thank you very much, Ji. It's a great pleasure to be here and to participate in this talk with you as an energy alumni. And I really am very happy that we have this opportunity.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। तो सर स्टार्ट करते हैं। हमारा प्रोग्राम का फॉर्मेट कुछ इस तरह से रहता है कि हम लोग स्टार्ट करते हैं टॉपिक फ्रॉम द एनईडी लाइफ, एंड देन फिर ग्रेजुअली हम लोग देखते हैं कि जो हमारे एलुमनाई हैं उन्होंने किस किस तरीके से क्या क्या अचीव किया इन द लाइफ टाइम। तो उसी उसमें हम लोग स्टार्ट करते हैं, बात करते हैं अबाउट योर टाइम इन एनईडी। थोड़ा सा ब्रीफ करें सर, हाउ वाज योर टाइम इन एनईडी? किस तरह का माहौल था, किस किस तरह से क्या स्टूडेंट लाइफ थी? हम लोगों ने तो जो अपनी गुजारी हम रिलेट करेंगे कि हमारी स्टूडेंट लाइफ के मुकाबले में आपकी लाइफ किस तरह से गुजरी एनईडी के अंदर सर।
बस जी, वो as you rightly pointed out, which sort of is probably indicated to your audience how old I am. So in growing up and especially being at NED during the 70s, I joined NED in 73, 1973, where when we were in the old campus, Pakistan Chowk pe. It really was probably one of the best periods of one's life. College life, the biggest problem is getting up in the morning and getting to the class. बाकी तो सारा दिन ऐशी होती है, and politics, everything else. And those days, of course, in spite of all the political upheaval in the early to mid 70s, Karachi, in particular, was a very, very liberal and forward-looking city. In fact, इस पूरे region में through the 70s, Karachi was the place where everybody from the Middle East used to come. We had in those days at NED several students from various Middle Eastern countries. And then, of course, all the royal families had their large palaces in Karachi, as you might know, in defense and other places. So it really was then we made the transition from the old campus to the new campus. बिल्कुल नया वो बना हुआ था, and right around that time my parents moved to Rawalpindi. So I moved into the hostel. Mohammed bin Qasim, I was one of the first occupants of the new hostel. So शुरू में तो I used to commute from there to the old campus, but it was an amazing building, very well, extremely well designed, financed by the World Bank, by the way. And it still is such an amazing design कि उस ज़माने में उसका सारा it was designed keeping in view the wind direction, etc. So the rooms were extremely comfortable. So then when the classes moved to the new campus, it was a whole new world. So बहुत ही अच्छा ज़माना रहा. We have some memorable times. Student leadership was हमारे ज़माने में तो बहुत ज़्यादा अगर गड़बड़ भी होती थी जमीयत एंड दूसरा क्या होता था प्रोग्रेसिव PSF, उनके जो इख्तिलाफात होते थे वो मुकों से और हाथापाई से रिजॉल्व हो जाते थे अगर बातचीत में नहीं होते थे. बाद में तो जब आगे में अमेरिका आ गया था, बाद में तो पता चला कि they used to have running battles with weapons, जिसकी वजह से unfortunately when I came back the whole place was like a fortress with the Rangers occupying everything. And जो हमारे NED का ये जो मोहम्मद बिन कासिम हॉस्टल था, that was basically the base of the Rangers contingent. So वो बड़ा sad situation थी in the 80s जब कराची fell into disrepair and all this ethnic bloodletting between various factions, unfortunately. But our time in NED was just amazing.
जबरदस्त है। तो सर हॉस्टल में भी रहते थे एंड यू आर आल्सो फ्रॉम मैकेनिकल डिपार्टमेंट, तो मैकेनिकल डिपार्टमेंट प्लस हॉस्टल, क्या कमाल का कॉम्बो है। तो शरारतें वगैरह तो खूब करते होंगे सर, मस्तियां मौजे वगैरह लगी होती होंगी।
Yeah, वो तो that as you know part of the life of being a student, as I said earlier. हमारा उन लोगों हमारे साथ ही उस वक्त IBA का भी हॉस्टल होता था, तो सारे दिन अपने क्लासेस वगैरह और उसके बाद बाकी काम वाम करके रात को सब लोग वापस पहुंचते थे। तो in the summers we used to have these amazing mango parties. वो बाल्टी के अंदर पूरे आम भरते थे, बर्फ रखते थे और आम खाते थे सारे हमारे बाकी हॉस्टल मेट्स जो थे। And then we would get into shouting matches with the IBA guys across on the other side of the road. तो बहुत अलग उल्ला चलता था।
जबरदस्त है। तो सर पढ़ाई का क्या माहौल था, किस तरह के टीचर्स से उस वक्त, और क्या प्रोग्रेशन थी एनईडी की। आपने देखा, आपने ये भी देखा, 2 कैंपस देखे हैं, सिटी कैंपस भी देखा, फिर एक नई बिल्डिंग भी देखी, तो ऑब्वियसली खुशी भी होगी, खुशी भी हुई होगी कि प्रोग्रेशन में जा रहे हैं। पढ़ाई का लेवल और प्रोफेसर्स और उस जमाने में किस तरह का था सर?
I think we had some very amazing teachers in those days. Dr. Jamil तो एक आइकॉन है, as मैं पता नहीं आप लोगों के ज़माने तक वो थे या नहीं, but he was the head of the department of mechanical engineering in those days.
क्या नाम बताया आपने सर?
Dr. Jamil.
डॉक्टर जमील।
डॉक्टर इंजीनियर, वो जर्मनी से पढ़ के आए थे एंड फ्लूइड मैकेनिक्स और गैस डायनामिक्स पढ़ाया करते थे।
ठीक।
So he was sort of one of the teachers I remember the most. उसके बाद there were several others. I'm forgetting the names now. Maths के हमारे एक बड़े पुराने टीचर थे जो इन्होंने मेरे चचा भी is also an NED alumnus. उनके ज़माने में वो थे वहाँ FG खान साहब। So he subsequent, I think हमारे towards the end of our stay in NED he had retired already, so you obviously will not know him. But some of your other audience might remember.
ठीक है सर। अच्छा सर, यस, तो जब ग्रेजुएट किया एनईडी से 78 में आई बिलीव आपने ग्रेजुएट किया है, उसके बाद यू मूव टू यूएसए फॉर द मास्टर्स। सो उस टाइम पे मतलब इट वाज जेन्युइन के, मतलब बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट जाते थे बाहर पढ़ने स्पेसिफिकली, या कोई स्कॉलरशिप लगी थी, या किस तरह से था? व्हाई यू ऑप्टेड फॉर अ मास्टर्स इन यूएसए?
Well, actually, I did want to do a master's. उस वक्त the idea was initially it started off with trying to get into a master's program in petroleum engineering. तो मैंने कई यूनिवर्सिटीज में अप्लाई किया इंक्लूडिंग द यूके। मेरा फिर इंपीरियल कॉलेज में हो गया था लंदन में, और एक और हैरियट वॉट यूनिवर्सिटी था जहाँ दे हैड अ गुड पेट्रोलियम इंजीनियरिंग प्रोग्राम, वहाँ हो गया था। बट देन I found out about this program in energy management and policy at the Pennsylvania, which was a joint program between the Wharton School of Business and the School of Public Policy. So that sounded very interesting, so I ended up there for my master's. Initially, the scholarship nahi tha, but I managed to scrape together enough funding from my father and my uncle, my chacha in the US. And basically एक सेमेस्टर के पैसे लेके हम लोग पहुंच गए वहाँ। Very lucky, was able to get a fellowship, a research fellowship, and then which continued for the rest of my my studies at Penn. from
तो सर और जॉब्स वगैरह भी की या बस फेलोशिप?
नहीं, odd jobs तो करनी होती हैं यार. The fellowship basically paid for the tuition. तो बाकी एक $200 कुछ मिलते थे. So I was already married when I went there, so we needed a whole lot more. तो बस उसके बाद फिर on campus भी कर सकते थे because we could not work off campus. And I did all kinds of. I was a security guard at the library. I was a receptionist at the graduate towers एक जो होते हैं वहाँ पर dorms. उसके reception पे काम करते थे. Mail office में mail sorter होते थे. So all those jobs we held over the next 2 years at Penn. Summers में fortunately I got a summer job in Hawaii as a research summer intern at the East West Center in Hawaii. So which was again a very amazing experience. I did a refinery simulation model for refinery yields, or specifically that helped my जो हमारे program के director था उस वक्त Energy Center at the East West Center. उन्होंने बड़ा जबरदस्त. It was very seminal research in those days. He predicted the downstream push of the OPEC countries, or he was able to sort of warn the world of the change or the move in refining capacity from the west to the Gulf. That was very interesting. And then we came back. I was in a PhD program, but then as a married student, it's pretty tough to stay poor for more than 2 years. But after then we got out, and unfortunately there were no jobs in the petroleum sector. So I ended up in the power sector because they were the only jobs that were available. I ended up in New York with Con Edison.
एक्चुअली बाज़ औक़ात सर आपको फॉर्च्यून ही लेके जाती है आपके जॉब साइकिल पे. तो अब देखें पावर सेक्टर में होते हुए आपने कितनी कामयाबी माशाल्लाह अचीव की है. लेकिन जैसे आपने कहा कि आपके पास चॉइस ही ये थी टू मूव इन द पावर सेक्टर. सो तो फॉर्च्यून ने अच्छा काम किया आपके लिए. तो सर ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम अ स्टूडेंट टुवर्ड्स अ कॉर्पोरेट गाय, वी टॉक अबाउट द AES कॉर्पोरेशन. मतलब स्टार्ट किया 92 में, I believe, and then you were a president when you left at 2007. Walk us through this period. जब आपने start किया, आप किस position पे start हुए थे, and then कैसा रहा वो journey about this AES corporation? मैं मज़ीद सवाल भी करूँगा, लेकिन let's start with this one. किस position से start किया? How does the journey started? And then we talk about the whole journey in the AES corporation as well.
The start of the journey is very interesting. Before I joined AES, I was with a management consulting firm called McKinsey and Company. It's a strategy consulting firm and very tough to get into.
Very famous, yeah.
So after about 4 years at McKinsey, I was an engagement manager. Then I decided, okay, I'd had enough of traveling. There's a very intensive travel schedule and so on and so forth. And I got, okay, बहुत time हो गया, need to get back into the industry. Because before AES, I was at Con Ed, as I said earlier, Con Edison, which is a utility in New York, for about 4 and a half years. So I got, it's about time to get back into industry. So you have McKinsey में ये होता है कि when people want to leave, they give you time to find the right position. मैं उस वक्त GE और 2-4 जो बड़े यूजुअल सस्पेक्ट्स हैं एनर्जी सेक्टर के और पावर सेक्टर के, वहाँ उनके साथ इंटरव्यूज वगैरह कर रहा था. मेरी एक हॉबी थी उस ज़माने में भी क्लासिक कार्स की. तो एक वीकेंड के ऊपर मैं गाड़ी देखने गया, पुरानी 1974 की BMW कूपे थी. वो जब बात कर रहे थे, टर्न आउट द सेलर वाज अ लॉयर इन द एनर्जी इंडस्ट्री. तो हम बात से क्या करते हो, मैंने कहा ये करता हूँ. तो और मैं अभी McKinsey छोड़ रहा हूँ, looking for a job. वो कहते हैं, I know this great little power company. You have to talk to them. वो it turned out to be the AES corporation. वो उनका he was an external lawyer, Chadbourne and Park, एक law firm थी. उसमें काम करता था, was AES's lawyers. So he basically introduced me to this project director there. उससे मिला, then it led to one thing led to another. तो उनके जो प्रेसिडेंट हैं उनके साथ मुलाकात हुई, उसको फाउंडर्स जो थे डेनिस बाकी और एंड क्या नाम है इनका, was also his co-founder. उन लोगों के साथ spent the whole day with them, came back and said, okay, this is the place you have to be. क्योंकि जो McKinsey में हम जिस तरह की कंपनी डिजाइन कहा करते थे दूसरों को बनने के लिए, so I came back to McKinsey. मेरे जो बॉस होते was the head of the energy practice then, Les Lumen होता था। उनसे मैंने कहा यार आज मैं बड़ी जबरदस्त एक छोटी कंपनी से मिलके आया हूँ कि अगर हमारे पास ब्लैंक शीट ऑफ पेपर होती है एज ए McKinsey कंसल्टेंट और मैंने नई कंपनी बनानी होती तो यही बनाता कि नो ब्यूरोक्रेसी, decision making in the front lines, the culture, very culture driven rather than the other way around. तो उन्होंने कहा हाँ यार, don't you know, Bob Waterman is on the board now. Bob Waterman in those days was a big management guru, ex-McKinsey. He was a ex-director of McKinsey.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the founders of founding board members of AES. So because of that, उसने बड़ा AES को McKinsey के तौर तरीके से के जी culture and strategy driven बनाया था. So I basically joined there, taking basically a very big pay cut at that time of almost 25% to go to AES, and ended up not going to a GE, जहाँ पे मेरी sort of almost, that's probably where I should have ended up. Anyway, so AES was a small company, only about 1,200 megawatts. But then within a year of joining, I ended up in Pakistan. यहाँ पे हमने लाल पीर और पाकजन का project develop किया, and it was then, we didn't look back at all. मैंने तो उससे पहले कभी, I was never a developer. I had always been either in operations or consulting, right? But they let me manage the project. I joined as the director of new ventures globally for the Americas. Ended up in Pakistan developing this project and then staying on. And during this time, AES grew from the 1,200 megawatts. Over the next about 10 years or so, we grew to be the largest privately owned power company in the world. There are almost 50,000 megawatts in 23 different countries. So it was an amazing ride. So as far as I was concerned, after developing the projects in Pakistan, I moved to Singapore for a year and then to Dubai, and kept getting kicked upstairs. Ended up as the president for Europe, Middle East, Africa, in the former Soviet Union. After which I left in 2007.
ओके यहाँ पे इंजीनियर्स के लिए बहुत अच्छा मैसेज है कि जो सोचते हैं कि यार हमारी की जॉब किसी बड़ी कंपनी में नहीं हो रही है, तो ग्रो विद द कंपनी. एक्चुअली जैसे आपने बताया कि भाई इट वाज अ वेरी स्मॉल कंपनी एट दैट टाइम, बट यू ग्रो एंड द कंपनी आल्सो टुक अ ग्रोथ पाथ. तो जिसके साथ फिर आपकी भी ग्रोथ भी हुई और कंपनी की ग्रोथ भी हुई. सो इट्स अबाउट योरसेल्फ आल्सो. यू फील इट द सेम सर?
Indeed. रिस्क होता है, बट वही बात है ना, no risk, no gain. So you've got to manage the security versus the risk in startups or young companies. तो उसमें फायदा ये होता है, we were plus तो AES का जो हमारा स्ट्रक्चर ऐसा होता था because of decentralization, and you're able to take on responsibility as quickly as you could handle it. As a result, we basically managed in about 5 years' time my business, which was Middle East and South Asia. We grew to almost 5,000 megawatts in about 6 years' time. just in that this part of the world. We are the first IPPs in Pakistan, one of the early IPPs in Pakistan. We are the first IPP in Bangladesh. We are the first IPP in Sri Lanka, India, and then Oman, and then Abu Dhabi, Qatar, uh, and then Jordan. Saudi Arabia, somehow we never could make work. Every time we bid for projects there, we could never get a foothold. But like I said, it was an amazing journey.
It's okay, sir. So, sir, you started and then you said that you took the portfolio to 50,000 megawatt. I read somewhere that you were handling approximately $1.4 billion portfolio, something like this. So, starting from the bottom and जो इतने top level तक आप गए हैं, how did you grow the company? Corporate structure में कुछ changes की आपने अपने तौर पे कुछ गाइड करेंगे उन लोगों को इंजीनियर्स को जो स्पेसिफिकली अपनी कंपनी में अभी स्टार्टिंग पोजीशन पे हैं एंड हाउ दे कैन टेक इट द सेम लेवल अपवर्ड? क्या कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड में रहते हुए क्या डिसीजन से आपके जिसकी वजह से आपको सक्सेस मिली थी? व्हाट कुड बी द रीजन जो आप शेयर करना चाहेंगे?
I am not sure I have any simple answer for that. I think the key factor was probably the ability of getting good people, pulling together teams that were able to work together. और AES का एक ये बड़ा AES के हमारे कॉर्पोरेट कल्चर और एक हमारा जो वैल्यूज थे ना, वो इस तरह के थे कि we empowered the people. और अगर कोई फंडामेंटल क्या कहते हैं उसको रीजन मैं कहूँगा हमारे the success of our team was this ability that our leaders gave us to take the ball and run with it. That kind of empowered the people immensely. So
decentralization, maybe.
Decentralization. Absolutely. Decentralization and the lack of bureaucracy. ये दो चीजें हैं. अगर so and especially for growing companies, bureaucracy will kill it. Even once AES grew to the level that we were at, one of the disadvantages of becoming very large is that you have to develop some bureaucracy, and because of that, obviously the culture has to change then, and you transition into a large corporation. And because of that, clearly the initial entrepreneurial spirit of the people is tough to retain. So the challenge to larger companies is how do you retain that fire in people and the entrepreneurial spirit. Although you have to have a certain level of bureaucracy, because otherwise you can't manage very large companies and working in all around the globe. So I think those are the things people need to think about when they start growing from a small company to larger companies.
ठीक है सर. So let's move on, sir. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's talk about your own company. फिर AES Corporation को छोड़ के अपनी कंपनी स्टार्ट की. So मतलब ऑलरेडी आपको अपनी कंपनी में काइंड ऑफ एंटरप्रेन्योर रोल था ही, जैसे आपने डिस्क्राइब किया कि भाई डिसेंट्रलाइज था, you were taking the decisions and all that. So you use the same thing that डिसाइड किया कि चलो लेट्स डू समथिंग फॉर माई सेल्फ उस वक्त. और फिर देन अगेन इस फेयर का जरूर बताएं कि जब जॉब बंदा छोड़ रहा होता है और अपनी कंपनी स्टार्ट कर रहा होता है, व्हाट वाज इन योर माइंड कि यार इतना अच्छी खासी जॉब है, मैं अपना काम करता हूँ या मैं कर सकता हूँ. तो ये बताएं सर कि ट्रांजिशन कैसा था जॉब से अपनी कंपनी स्टार्ट करने का? डर लगा था सर?
हाँ यार, देखिए डर तो लगता है यार, स्पेशली व्हेन you have a family, you have children going on to college, and you have a lot of obligations.
वाकई सर आपके 78 की ग्रेजुएट है और ये 2007 में आपने कंपनी बनाई है. सो इट्स लाइक आफ्टर 29 इयर्स आफ्टर ग्रेजुएशन. सो काफी एक्सपीरियंस होने के बाद.
That's right. So in some ways it was easier because Allah ka bada fazl tha when I left AES, sort of from a क्या कहना चाहिए उसको financial standpoint, there was some financial backing or stability which is there, given the state at which I left AES as one of the top officers. So that way, I guess I had the luxury of sort of being able to quit and not not be afraid too much of not being able to keep the family obligations fulfilled. So at least to that extent, AES was obviously a huge help. But now I don't know if I would have done what I did. But because of that, transition was a bit easier. But clearly, from being the regional president for, as you said, almost $1.5 billion company yourself, then to jump and go out and raise $100 million or $150 million. जब आप $1 billion का एक project कर रहे होते हैं, so it's you have to basically start at ground level again. वो होता है, it's risky, but again, I guess it's the need to do something on one's own just sort of drives you. Kiam we went out. I was very lucky to have raised about $150 million, about $100 million from private equity, and another about $50 million from the International Finance Corporation, which is a private sector arm of the World Bank. That we got that together, and then I went out and we bought out GE Capital in one of the best projects in Pakistan again, the Uch Power project. So GE wanted to get out at the time, so we got a controlling share for about $60 million. We grew the business. We added another 500 megawatts. This is approximately 600 megawatt project. We added another 400 megawatts. Sorry, not 5, but 400 megawatts to that project, and we exited. और बाकी we were developing wind projects. The company was doing extremely well. We again were able to get a bunch of very, very smart and driven young people in Creative Energy, but unfortunately we ran into the वो पढ़ा होगा आपने भी और hope your audience probably remembers. There's a book called The Big Short. उसकी फिर movie भी बन गई थी बाद में. The crash of 2008 Lehman Brothers का जो meltdown हुआ था. So in the wake of that, our sponsors also got caught. So they could not provide any more funding. So basically, because they were in trouble, they told me, please, you need to give us back the money. Now, if I had wanted to enforce my legal contracts, I had no obligation to return back the money before 10 years. So I could have sort of said, no, forget it. But then, he said, okay, they're in trouble. When I needed the money, they gave me $100 million. So I can't really throw the legal mumbo jumbo at them. So we ended up, unfortunately, liquidating the company, returning the money back to the investors after about 4 years. But in those 4 years, the investors really did quite well. We paid almost $30 million in dividends, and we stored the money on basically a fire sale for about $60 million again. So in 4 years, they made almost 50% net cash flow gain.
Sure, sir. So you were based in Dubai or in Pakistan for this company?
This was Creative Energy was headquartered in Dubai, but our main business, we started our business in Pakistan, but the idea was to develop it into a regional power company, with target being Middle East and South Asia and North Africa.
All right, sir. So let's move on, sir. Mashallah, sir, you are a special assistant to our beloved Imran Khan Saab, sir. How did this all happen, sir? I mean, मैंने देखा आपका career path. You did as a normal student, and then as a normal student masters किया, और jobs भी की, and then end up to the corporate world. वहाँ से flourish किया ऊपर, फिर अपनी company भी बनाई, and then afterwards towards the bureaucracy or towards the governmental role. पहले तो मुझे बताएं सर, फीलिंग कैसी थी? इमरान खान साहब ने जब बुलाया होगा कि भाई आ जाओ, थोड़े मशवरे वगैरह दो हमें, so what was the feeling? Sense of responsibility ज्यादा था या खुशी ज्यादा थी सर? Mixed feeling थी.
Well, I think it's tough to say which was more, because it's a very daunting industry to get into in Pakistan, especially given my experience of having worked here and in several other developing countries. The bureaucracies and especially in the power sector, given the entrenched problems that are there, was a huge challenge. So, what's the word for it? खौफ तो मैं नहीं कहूँगा, but challenge it's a huge challenge, right? So that sense was there, but there's also the urge to try and give back something to the country. जहाँ से आपने सारी schooling की, college पढ़े, the country basically made me what I was. By the time I got out of NED, उससे पहले I was in a cadet college in Kohat. So probably वो तो बिल्कुल ही government funded ही होता है almost, because there's very nominal fees that my father, who was in the army, used to pay. But so therefore I felt, we all, I'm sure as everyone else from NED or even other Pakistanis, all have this urge to sort of give back to the extent we can. So उस लिहाज से, it felt very, very good that we have this opportunity.
ठीक है सर. So sir, you are currently holding the portfolio for energy and minerals. So energy आपका portfolio है, and then minerals is the portfolio.
Energy, energy. Let me just slight correction. Energy includes power and the oil and gas sectors. I am within the Ministry of Energy. There is a power division that used to be the Ministry of Water and Power originally. Has now been split into a separate Ministry of Power and a Ministry of Water. So I came in originally as a special assistant to the Prime Minister on the power sector. So there, about 9 months later, after having come in, I was asked to work take responsibility for developing the mineral and mining sector. Because at that time, the government felt it was a bit too early to do the kind of radical reform that is required. So instead of letting me go, he said, "Look, you need to. Why don't you help get me started?" In fact, this is the meeting where the Prime Minister Imran Khan Saab convinced me to switch over to minerals and try to make something happen there. And in hindsight, it turned out to be very exciting and very very fruitful actually, because we've been able to start a major, inshallah, copper and gold mining, prospecting and development company as a joint venture between the government of Pakistan and the government of Balochistan.
इंशाल्लाह सर. तो सर मैं इसमें डिटेलिंग में आऊँगा, मैं आपसे डिटेल सवाल करूँगा रिगार्डिंग माइनिंग और पावर से रिलेटेड भी, लेकिन पहले एक जनरल सा सवाल करते हैं सर. कैसा लगता है सर काबीना में बैठे हुए सर? किस तरह का प्रेशर होता है? क्या होप्स हैं इंशाल्लाह हम नौजवानों के लिए आगे सर? एक फीलिंग बताएं सर, किस तरह की फीलिंग रहती है जब कैबिनेट में बैठा हो? ऐसा लगता है बहुत ज्यादा प्रेशर है और काम का, या और एक पॉजिटिविटी भी है? किस तरह का मतलब माहौल थोड़ा सा बताएंगे सर? क्या कैबिनेट में किस तरह से रहता है सर?
cabinet, it's unlike what I'm told, unlike the previous cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very it's open. It's almost like board meetings जो AES में मैं attend किया करता था. Everybody speaks their mind. There's a very open discussion on issues, and it's obviously a great sense of responsibility because the cabinet is the government of Pakistan. So all major decisions have to be made in that forum. So therefore, that is a bit awe-inspiring, but you get used to it, and you try and ask the right questions. And if you are the one making a pitch for a project to get approved or a certain decision to be made, it's very interesting and very um, very incisive discussions that happens. So I think as a given my background, that it really is exhilarating to be able to do this stuff.
ठीक है. अच्छा सर, लाइटर मोड पे पूछता हूँ आपसे, इमरान खान साहब ने कभी आप लोगों को कहा मिलके कि घबराना नहीं है?
All the time.
All the time.
Especially when there have been several spots, as I'm sure everyone remembers and knows. There's been a lot of challenges that have come up over the last couple of years. So, usme people, obviously, we all get a bit worried, and it's the thing with Imran Khan is, you spend 15-20 minutes with him, and you come out of there raring to go and full of optimism.
बिल्कुल सर, यही हमने देखा है उनको टीवी पे भी और लाइव पे भी. तो सर अब कुछ डिटेल सवाल करता हूँ मैं आपसे सर. आई एम फ्रॉम द इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग बैकग्राउंड. मतलब जब इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग की कोर है दैट इज कॉपर. व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट पाकिस्तान में दुनिया की दूसरी या तीसरी या वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट स्केल है कॉपर की कान है, लेकिन स्टिल वी इंपोर्ट 100% कॉपर. पाकिस्तान में अगर आप बाय करने जाएं कॉपर को, so you cannot get 100% pure copper, पाकिस्तानी कॉपर. You have to have the imported copper as a pure copper. So इसकी वजह क्या है, और क्या हम आगे की तरफ देखें कि भाई इसकी तरफ हम कॉपर, प्योर कॉपर पाकिस्तान के थ्रू जनरेट कर सके, क्योंकि जब भी इंडस्ट्री है उसको बाहर से इंपोर्ट करना है अभी और उस पर ड्यूटीज पे करनी है, सो इट्स क्वाइट कॉस्टली टू हैव कॉपर. सो बीइंग बैकग्राउंड फ्रॉम द इलेक्ट्रिकल डिपार्टमेंट, क्वाइट इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियर होते हुए काफी फीलिंग होती है इस पे. तो इस पे क्या कहेंगे सर आप, स्पेसिफिकली जब आप खुद माइनिंग के इसके एडवाइजर हैं टू द प्राइम मिनिस्टर?
I'd like to make another correction to what you just said. Which is that unfortunately जिस copper mine की आप बात कर रहे हैं, that never got going.
Okay.
For a whole host of unfortunate reasons, that entire mining venture ground to a halt and went into arbitration, and we are now trying to resolve it to get. And that's one of the reasons why ये था Reko Dik का project, अगर आपने सुना हो.
जी सर, Reko Dik.
If it had worked, it would have been the third largest copper mine in the world. You're absolutely right. ये दुनिया की बड़ी गोल्ड और कॉपर माइंस की दो कंपनीज थी. एक एंटोफागास्टा है चिलेन, और कनाडा की थी बैरिक गोल्ड. उनका जॉइंट वेंचर था बेसिकली. तो ये बड़ा ज़बरदस्त काम हो रहा था, and the feasibility was done. They spent about 6 years working on it. जब वो फाइनल हो गया तो the government of Balochistan in those days refused to give them the mining license which they were supposed to. Those basis they went to litigation, etc., and then the then Chief Justice, he got into the act. He declared it illegal. They went to international arbitration. Then we ended up, unfortunately, with a huge क्या कहते हैं उसको, award against us. तो उसको हम अभी रिजॉल्व करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. So and along with this venture of it's called Balochistan Mineral Exploration Company, उसके साथ once that starts, once the mining starts again, hopefully your question will then be answered, and we will have at least local smelter. If the smelting operation makes sense, then we will have blister copper in Pakistan. एक छोटी पुराना एक और mine है छोटा साइंदक के नाम से. That is an integrated mine. They produce blister copper. So they export blister copper and then for refining, and then is imported as refined copper for whatever industry is required. तो अगर ये रिकोदिक भी चल भी जाता, तो they would have exported the ore itself. They would not be refining it. So there was no smelter with that project, because they found, because there's a lot of excess smelting capacity in the world, it did not make sense to build or invest in a new smelter in Pakistan, where the energy cost, as you know, is pretty high. So most of the smelting capacity in the world is in places where there is extremely cheap or subsidized power available. So that is why you don't see any local refined copper or end product in Pakistan.
So सर रेकोडेक से अभी हमने बिल्कुल भी माइनिंग स्टार्ट नहीं की है, जीरो माइनिंग, कोई भी कॉपर नहीं निकला अभी तक टिल डेट फ्रॉम रेकोडेक?
Unfortunately, none.
ओके, सो आपने कहा कि कोई, आपने स्टार्टिंग में बता रहे थे कोई प्रोजेक्ट है, सो यू वांट टू टेल द ऑडियंस अबाउट दिस प्रोजेक्ट कि आप जो अभी आप लोग ने आप मुझे बताने लगे थे स्टार्टिंग में, कोई प्रोजेक्ट है दैट यू आर वर्किंग ऑन फॉर दिस रेकोडेक साइट?
जी जी, there's an area in Balochistan, if you remember, there's a sort of a triangular abutment between Afghanistan on one side and Iran on the other side. It's almost southwest of Quetta. तो वहाँ पर it's an area called Chaghi. तो ये जो चागी का एरिया है, that is part of the what is called the Tetian mineral belt, which runs all the way from I think Romania, Eastern Europe से आता है, through Turkey and Iran, and runs through Pakistan up north, over into towards the Himalayas back into India. तो उसकी वजह से वहाँ there's very rich copper deposits. It's called porphyry copper. It's slightly lesser concentration copper, but it's still very good. उसकी वजह से they have this was discovered by the Geological Survey of Pakistan, हमारी अपनी जो entity है, about 40-45 years ago. उसी की basis के ऊपर साइंदक was the first project that was started. तो इससे ये सारा शुरू हुआ था, and unfortunately everything ground to a halt because of this Rikodik litigation. तो कोई काम नहीं हो रहा था. तो फिर हमने I was discussing this with the planning minister, Asad Umar. So we were brainstorming, and he said, "Look, you know, why do you want to wait for Rikodik to get resolved? Why don't we do it now?" And I said, "You can't. Who's going to come and invest in Pakistan if we are still in litigation with the original investors?" तो कहते हैं उसको तो हम resolve कर रहे हो ना. So why until then? Why don't the government start exploration projects on its own? So this discussion के साथ बात शुरू हुई, and it kind of made sense कि ठीक है, हम पूरा mining में नहीं जाएंगे, which requires billions of dollars, but if you spend about $20 million initially, उसको what is called the initial reconnaissance, उसके लिए हम थोड़ा काम कर लें, which takes about 2 to 3 years, and develop the what is called the initial resource assessment, और उसकी बेसिस के ऊपर आप आइडेंटिफाई कर दें कि जी रिसोर्स कहाँ है और कहाँ पर पोटेंशियल माइनिंग हो सकती है. At that level you can sell it. we looked at what happened in the case of Ricodic. जो ओरिजिनल कंपनी थी एक ऑस्ट्रेलियन कॉल्ड BHP, ब्रोकन हिल प्रॉपर्टी, उन्होंने काम शुरू किया था. They spent about 2 or 3 years, and then this joint venture of जो मैंने बताया था ना आपको, क्या नाम है इनका, Antofagasta and Barrick, they came in and they bought out Broken Hill, the BHP, for almost $200 million. ठीक है जी. So our thought was, ठीक है, we invest the $200 to $300 million, but we are able to sell it for we invest the $20-25 million and are able to then probably sell it to large mining companies who would then buy us out and invest the $2 to $3 billion that are required to open a large scale copper and gold mine. So with that idea, we've incorporated now, and everybody bought into it. The government of Balochistan agreed to it. So with the chief minister and myself, we have now developed this as a joint venture between the provincial and the federal governments. And we're going to start the process, hopefully launch the company by the end of this month.
ओके वैसे सर इट्स अ प्रोविंशियल टॉपिक माइनिंग वैसे एज एन ओवरऑल अगर आप बात करें बिल्कुल ऑन ग्राउंड की, सो इट्स अ प्रोविंशियल टॉपिक, राइट सर?
Indeed.
बिकॉज आई रिमेंबर दिस, क्योंकि थर की भी इटसेल्फ वो थरकुल माइनिंग कंपनी है अंडर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ सिंध, इस तरह से.
Indeed.
तो सर
So
मूविंग जी
sort of before we move out of this the mining topic, इसी असना में the another sort of major project that I've been working on and developed was ये थर जैसे आपने बताया ना, थर कोल के हमारे reserves finally अब develop हो रहे हैं, although we are about probably at least 5 or 10 years too late, but still we have to have some indigenous fuel that we use instead of depending completely on imported fuels. थर का क्योंकि बन रहा था, but most the initial projects are mine mouth plants. वहाँ पर मुसीबत यह है कि पानी नहीं है. So therefore the
थर की बात कर रहे हैं सर?
थर पे in the Thar desert is obviously it's a desert, right? So there's no water.
अंडरग्राउंड भी नहीं है.
Groundwater है, but it's very difficult to treat that and very expensive to treat it. और इतना नहीं है कि आप उसके ऊपर 10-15 हज़ार मेगावाट लगा सकें. The first about 1,500 to 2,000 megawatts are being developed using the groundwater, but उसके बाद you have to put the plants closer to where the water is. So as a result, एक जो project लग रहा था is in Port Qasim in Karachi, जो imported coal से start होगा and they will then switch to Thar coal. तो मैंने कहा यार वो तो ट्रक से, मैंने कहा कोयला कैसे आएगा वहाँ? उन्होंने कहा जी ट्रक से आएगा. मैंने कहा you got to be kidding me. 660 मेगावाट का प्रोजेक्ट है, उसके लिए तकरीबन 3 मिलियन 3.25 मिलियन टन कोयला चाहिए. You would have constant line of trucks running from Thar to Karachi, jamming up the highways. I can forget about it. Let's this has to be moved by rail. So we looked at it. It turned out there's only about 140 kilometers of railway line that is required to connect the minefield, the blocks where the mines are being developed, to the existing railway network. So उसकी feasibility अभी complete हुई है about a month ago, and we are trying to do this on a BOT basis, so that the railway the railway track as well as the rolling stock that is required will be done on a public-private partnership as a build-own-operate or a build-own transfer basis. वो अगर वो हो जाता है दैट विल बी ह्यूज, क्योंकि फिर हम जो एक हमारा एग्जिस्टिंग गवर्नमेंट का बनता हुआ प्रोजेक्ट है जामशोरों पे, उसको भी हम थर कोल पे कन्वर्ट कर लेंगे. So that will be the beginning. Then we are looking at the possibility of converting all the fertilizer factories in Dharki, around Dharki. If you remember, some of our, I think many of our alumni also work in
सर
Dharki.
एक एंग्रो का है डरकी में, और आई थिंक उससे नियरेस्ट सातकाबाद में फौजी फर्टिलाइजर वालों का है प्लांट.
फौजी फर्टिलाइजर
यस,
है, फातिमा है, everyone has a plant
फातमा
there.
फर्टिलाइजर, यस, पाकरा फर्टिलाइजर भी है,
So
बिग कंपनी. हाँ,
there's about 4 large fertilizer projects there. So I've got the industry together. They're working on a feasibility study to take Tharcoal, convert it to coal to syngas, and use that as input instead of pipeline gas. जो कि, as we know, Pakistan is running out of.
यस,
Uh,
डिप्लीशन है उसकी. यस,
yeah, we have now started importing LNG, liquefied natural gas, which is obviously very expensive. तो अगर ये हम थरकोल से करते हैं तो जो उसकी प्री फिजिबिलिटी बनाई हुई है fertilizer industry ने, at about $25 a ton of thercoal, they can be the gas that we produce would be competitive with pipeline gas. So that could be a huge shot in the arm for our economy कि हम इतनी गैस जो है वो फर्टिलाइजर से रिलीज करके पावर और डोमेस्टिक और अदर इंडस्ट्री यूजेस में कर लें, और फर्टिलाइजर which is basically urea can be produced from Tharcoal. During this process, I was shocked to learn that almost 75% of fertilizer of urea in China is coal-based. So it's not like this is something, pie in the sky type cheese nahi hai. It's very, very real and very doable. The only issue is it's obviously a very large investment required in the coal gasification facility, which is what the industry is going to figure out whether it makes sense to do that and how to raise that capital.
ऑब्वियसली सर उसकी कमर्शियल वायबिलिटी तो चाहिए, लेकिन आपने कहा कि वो कंपेटिटिव अगर है विद पाइपलाइन गैस, सो मोस्ट चांसेस हैं कि आपको इजीली फाइनेंसेस इसके मिल जाएं होपफुली. तो सर आपको ऐसा लगता है कि विद इन द नेक्स्ट 3 इयर्स जो कि आप लोगों का टेन्योर अभी है, ये प्रोजेक्ट्स क्या एग्जीक्यूशन की तरफ जा सकेंगे या सिर्फ विजिबिलिटी स्टेज पे ही रहेंगे, या कोई प्रोसेस को क्विकन कर सकते हैं आप लोग कि यार लेट्स डू सम वंडर, क्योंकि दुनिया में जैसे आपने कहा कि ऑलरेडी चाइना में हुआ है, तो ऑल यू नीड इज सम इंफॉर्मेशन, बिकॉज आप गवर्नमेंट के लेवल पे तो बहुत इजीली इंफॉर्मेशन ला सकते हैं. सो डू यू थिंक द नेक्स्ट 3 इयर्स यू विल बी एबल टू डू इट, या फिर फिजिबिलिटी स्टडी वाले मामले रहेंगे इसमें?
I think in the next 3 years we will have developed the feasibilities. Hopefully it is feasible and we can get some of these projects at least to the start. We can, if they are proven feasible, which hopefully they will be, then we can begin the actual implementation of the projects in about 3 years' time if we move quickly now.
ओके, कुछ सवाल करते हैं सर रिलेटेड टू पावर इटसेल्फ. रिसेंटली पावर रिन्यूएबल्स की वजह से काफी कंपेटिटिव होती जा रही है. लेट मी शो यू हेडलाइन ऑफ अ न्यूज़पेपर, मैंने इसमें निकाली है, और मैं खुद सऊदी अरेबिया में हूँ तो मुझे इसका आइडिया भी है. सो यू सी दिस के 1.6 सेंट पे अब लोग बिड कर रहे हैं सोलर के प्रोजेक्ट. सो अगर मैं इसको देखूं, कंपेयर करूं थर से, तो मुझे पता है कि एंग्रो और उसका जो थरकोल प्रोजेक्ट है, जो सिंध की एनर्जी कंपनी है, उनका जो इश्तराक है, और जो थरकोल से हमारी बिजली पैदा हो रही है, दैट इज अप्रोक्सीमेटली 7 सेंट या 8 सेंट या 7.5 सेंट्स पर किलोवाट आवर है. उसके मुकाबले में दुनिया को अगर हम देखना चाहें तो ये दिस इज द लोएस्ट, यानी दिस इज वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड. वी डोंट सी दैट इट्स हम भी अचीव कर सकें, या मैं पूछूंगा आपसे कि भाई हम अचीव कर सकें नहीं. लेकिन 7 सेंट्स एंड 1.6 सेंट्स ऑफ एनर्जी ऑफ सोलर, बहुत जमीन आसमान का फर्क है. तो ऐसा तो नहीं होगा जैसे हम लोग अभी परेशान हो रहे हैं कि हमने जो 90s में प्रोजेक्ट्स लगाए थे बड़े बड़े थर्मल पे, हम लोग उस वक्त के ज़माने में, हो सकता है हमें चीप लग रही हो उस वक्त, क्योंकि उस वक्त तेल भी इतना महंगा नहीं था, और अब जाके वो 20 और 23 रुपये या 30 रुपये की पड़ती है. दैट इज लाइक 15 सेंट्स 20 सेंट्स समथिंग लाइक दिस. तो अभी भी अगर हम देखें तो कोल पे से हमें 7 सेंट का पड़ता है, जो हमें लगता है कि चीप है, उससे भी चीप दुनिया जा रही है, दैट इज 1.6 सेंट्स, इस तरफ जा रही है। तो हम लोग क्या इस डायरेक्शन में हैं सोलर में और रिन्यूएबल में कि भाई इसके करीब करीब हम लोग प्रोड्यूस कर सकें? और बाय द वे दिस इज लाइक द आईपीपी टेंडर, सो पैसा भी वो आईपीपी वाला खुद लगा रहा है और इन द एंड सिर्फ बेच रहा है अपना यूनिट। सो इसमें इसमें अभी करंट क्या है, हम लोगों ने कोई न्यू प्रोजेक्ट्स लगाए हो तो वो किस रेंज पे जा रहे हैं, और इस तरह के इन्वेस्टमेंट को लाने के लिए आप लोग मतलब मजीद कोई इकदाम हमारे हो रहे हैं?
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल हो रहे हैं। बट द क्वेश्चन यू आस्क्ड is pertinent. मगर आप you're in the power sector as well, so you will understand what I'm about to say. You see, एक तो the 1.6 cents in Saudi Arabia and similarly in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, roughly in that range, is because the cost of capital in those countries is extremely low. ठीक है जी? Um, that is not the case in developing countries and places like Pakistan. Our cost of capital, for example, जो ये आपने बात की है ना, the cost of financing is just, I think it's about almost a quarter of what it is in Pakistan. वहाँ पर लोग equity returns लेते हैं single digits में, 7-8% equity के ऊपर काम करते हैं, IRRs के ऊपर. Pakistan has to give 17-18% IRRs to get a foreign investment. अब हम भी bidding की तरफ जा रहे हैं, so we will find out. But the good news is that the 1.6 cents in Saudi Arabia are now at the rate of about 3.4, 3.5 cents in wind and solar in Pakistan. And which compares very favorably to what is done in other developing countries recently, where they run competitive processes. So हम लोग भी उस तरफ जा रहे हैं. Our initial costs were much higher in wind. We were almost 6, 7, 8 cents. So over the last 5 years, it's come down drastically. So एक तो ये aspect हो गया. The other one is you have to
बिफोर यू मूव
remember.
टू द नेक्स्ट एस्पेक्ट सर, ये मैं सिर्फ एज अ स्टूडेंट आपसे सवाल करूंगा कि जो मुझे पता है इससे पहले भी एक टेंडर हुआ था, दैट वाज फाइनेंस्ड बाय इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग फ्रॉम फ्रांस। सो इवन सऊदी अरब की अपनी भी इन्वेस्टमेंट इतनी नहीं लग रही थी। आई एम फॉरगेटिंग द नेम, बट मे बी आई विल टेल यू आफ्टरवर्ड्स। सो ऐसा भी होता है कि सर प्रोजेक्ट आपका सऊदी अरब में है, इन्वेस्टर फ्रांस का है एंड लोकल डेवलपर है, एंड देन the contractor was from China or somewhere, something like this. So
जी
global
जी
financing, global financing भी तो है, तो फिर हमारी cost of financing इतनी ज्यादा क्यों है? मतलब maybe something I'm
yeah,
missing. Yes.
yeah, जी, you are missing. The issue
हम्म
is country risk.
हम्म
Okay. Whether
country
it
risk,
is
okay.
ये सारे इंटरनेशनल इन्वेस्टर्स होते हैं. पाकिस्तान में भी जो है सारे इंटरनेशनल इन्वेस्टमेंट है. It's not
Sure.
local investor. Okay.
हम्म
Most of the funding of the wind projects, for example, in Pakistan,
हम्म
are provided by international banks, the IDAs, IFC है, World Bank है, Asian Development Bank है, और other and under their cover various international export credit agencies. ठीक है जी? So it is the same. Gamesa, Siemens Gamesa, for example, they have done a lot of projects in Pakistan. GE has done a lot of projects in Pakistan. So as a result, the financing is all global. ठीक है जी? It all depends on what the cost of capital for a given country is. वो हमारे यहाँ in developing countries is much higher. In places like Saudi Arabia or UAE, it's a lot less. So therefore, the equity returns people demand as well as the cost of debt in these countries is significantly higher. तो एक बहुत बड़ा एस्पेक्ट ये है. उसके अलावा फिर और भी इश्यूज हैं, but suffice it to say these are the major contributors to the difference in capital costs. अच्छा, the other aspect to think about between the coal power and renewable is until the batteries become economical, the wind or solar are extremely variable. ठीक है जी.
Yes.
They are not what we call base load sources of power. They give energy, but they cannot provide capacity, quote and unquote. So, and as engineers, we know the difference. So I can talk in technical terms. So, in order to compare on an apples to apples basis between baseload generation like what Thercoal would provide and the wind or solar or hydro for that matter that renewable sources provide, we have to then add, जैसे अब हम generation planning का model run करते हैं ना, and you let all of these technologies be there for the least cost optimization to choose from. So every time they add the model chooses a renewable source, it has to add to it either gas turbines or batteries or some other source to take care of demand when the wind is not blowing, okay, or the sun is not shining. So जब वो आप लगा लेते हैं ना, तो on an overall basis, then at least at this stage of the game, so the 3.5 cents sort of becomes very close to 6-7 cents from an optimization standpoint on an apples to apples basis. So therefore, there is space. So even if you add, and you do add, and we will continue to add renewables. In fact, the PTI government has made it our target. We've set ourselves a target to reach 30% of power by renewable sources over the next 10 years. So when we do that, what is going to happen is we have a base load capacity, but we will use renewable as energy. So that is the way. So our average cost should come down. The total cost is of this energy is only 3 cents, which should bring down our average cost down between the 7 cents and the 3 cents. Be able to bring it down on an average basis.
ओके सर. अच्छा सर, कोल में पॉसिबिलिटी है मजीद नीचे जाने की, या यू थिंक दैट इट विल एवरेज आउट इन 7 सेंट्स और 8 सेंट?
नहीं जी, बहुत नीचे जाएगा इंशाल्लाह. ये तो दिस इज बेस्ड ऑन द फर्स्ट फेज ऑफ द माइन. ओके, इस वक्त हमारी कॉस्ट है ऑलमोस्ट $60 अ टन पे शुरू हुआ था. थर्क का जो ब्लॉक 2 है, which is the first mine. As soon as it crosses 1300 megawatts, which it is at now, the $60 becomes $43 a ton. ठीक है जी. And when it goes into phase 3, which is the next 1300 megawatts, it comes down to about $25 per ton.
Okay.
So as a result, the fuel cost is going to come down significantly, and therefore the cost of power. और ये जो मैं बात कर रहा हूँ $25 ton, not only for the new project but for the entire. By then, let us say 3,000. कितना हो गया? 13, entire 4,000 megawatts will then be getting the fuel supply at $25 a ton, which is
Okay.
less
So it
than
means
half.
sir both renewables and also Thercoal ये नीचे रेंज में आएंगे, 3 सेंट्स और 2 सेंट्स इस तरह की रेंज में फ्यूचर में लग रहा है कि इट विल. रिन्यूएबल्स ऑलरेडी हैं, एंड बट एवरेज आउट अगर देखें तो fuel cost will go down in Pakistan inshallah
Hopefully,
in the upcoming years. Yes.
But let me just make one correction. Even at $25 a ton, the price does not come down to 5 cents. It will probably come down to around 6 cents.
Okay.
Okay. Because of the capital cost of fixed है ना, that doesn't come down. It's just the fuel cost which is reducing.
ठीक है सर. अच्छा सर, इसमें सिर्फ 2 मजीद मैं सवाल ऐड करूंगा. हमने सुना है, आई डोंट नो इट्स ट्रू और नो, कि भुट्टो साहब के ज़माने में 1 लाख मेगावाट की कैपेसिटी पाकिस्तान प्लान कर रहा था. तो हम लोग करंटली क्या प्लान में हैं 1 लाख मेगावाट कैपेसिटी में, या अभी नहीं है? 50,000 की कैपेसिटी में प्लान कर रहे हैं, 60 पे कम कर रहे हैं कि भाई नेक्स्ट 20 साल में हमें ये डिमांड होगी? क्योंकि मतलब बचपन से अभी तक हम लोग तो लोड शेडिंग देख रहे हैं. अभी तक कोई सवाल अभी दिखा नहीं कि भाई लोड शेडिंग नहीं खत्म हो रही. KSC का खैर अलग टॉपिक है, उसमें मैं नहीं जाता. लेकिन डिमांड वाइज कि जिस तरह से ग्रो करना चाहिए कंट्री को, कैपेसिटी वाइज कोई टारगेट है गवर्नमेंट का कि नेक्स्ट 20 ईयर्स 15 ईयर्स इतनी डिमांड होनी चाहिए, इतनी इतनी सप्लाई होनी चाहिए?
Gigi, we are looking at the load forecast. In fact, we are in an exercise right now. आज भी हमारी बड़ी लंबी इसके ऊपर डिस्कशन हुई है. We are running discussing scenarios of various growth and supply and demand scenarios. So right now we have about nameplate rating की basis के ऊपर about 34,000 megawatts. ठीक है जी. And if demand continues to grow at the 3 or 4% that is projected by our Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Planning, so we will then probably require at least 50,000 megawatts within the next 5 years. And then all depends on how the economy grows. But just to give you a sense, a country like Pakistan really should have about 100,000 megawatts now, minimum. Because on a per capita basis, our consumption is extremely low compared to even, I won't even talk about the developed countries, compared to the middle income countries. If we equate the two, we should have approximately 100,000 megawatts right now for a country of 200 million plus people. So I think there is my belief is there is probably I'm sure to मैं चाहते हैं कि excess capacity है, हो रही है आजकल, or will be in the next few years as the CPEC projects and the other large hydros come online. But if the economy grows and we are able to unleash the growth in the economy, my sense is we'll continue to be short of power. Provided we can develop the transmission and distribution systems also sufficiently to disperse all the power that is being added as generation.
तो सर जनरेशन कैपेसिटी प्लान्ड है 50-60,000 तक, जैसे आपने कहा कि नेक्स्ट 5 ईयर्स तक जरूरत पड़ सकती है?
That's there, जी, बिल्कुल. That's what we have to plan on. Yeah, then based on those demand forecasts, we have to plan to add those levels of generation at the right points in time to keep pace with the demand.
ओके सर, चलें सर, काफ़ी टाइम लिया आपका. एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन करूंगा, फिर इसकी क्लोजिंग की तरफ जाएंगे सर. सवाल ये है कि सर हम बात करते हैं, अब जैसे आपने कहा कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग 15 से 20 किलोवाट का भी डिफरेंस आपको नज़र आता है नेक्स्ट 5 ईयर्स में, और जैसे आपने कहा कि 30% रिन्यूएबल भी है. इसका मतलब ये है कि ओवरऑल अगर 30% को रिन्यूएबल करना है तो मोस्टली प्रोजेक्ट्स या एटलीस्ट 50 to 60% प्रोजेक्ट्स आपके रिन्यूएबल्स की तरफ जाएंगे, जिसमें सोलर भी है, विंड भी है. विंड थोड़ी ज़्यादा सोफिस्टिकेटेड टेक्नोलॉजी है सोलर के मुकाबले में. तो जहाँ जैसे मिडिल ईस्ट की मैं बात करूँ, यहाँ पे सोलर के जो प्रोजेक्ट्स लग रहे हैं, साथ साथ जो डेवलपमेंट कंपनीज है वो इस चीज़ को इंश्योर कर रही हैं कि लोकलाइजेशन कंटेंट भी बढ़े. तो इस सूरत में कोई प्लानिंग हो रही है कि भाई अगर हम सोलर की तरफ इतना ज़्यादा जाएंगे जिसकी कैपेसिटी हमारे पास है, तो क्या हम लोकल सोलर पैनल बना सकें, उसकी फैक्ट्रीज लगा सकें, या बैटरीज हैं या इन्वर्टर्स हैं, या इस तरह इसकी तरफ जा सकें? और क्या इस तरह की कोई प्लानिंग इन पैरेलल हो रही है अभी, या ऑनेस्टली अभी इस तरफ रुझान नहीं है?
नहीं जी, बिल्कुल हो रही है. Both for wind as well as solar, we are going to have जिस तरह ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री में किया हुआ है, we want to have increasing local content in the equipment that is required for these projects. So we hope, especially as you said, for wind projects uh, as well as solar for that matter, to have manufacturing of these technologies within Pakistan as we continue, because the market जैसे बढ़ेगा तो automatically it will become more economical to build these things locally rather than importing complete wind turbines and solar panels from abroad.
श्योर सर, दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड सर. आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि कोई क्लोजिंग वर्ड्स हैं आपकी साइड से टू द ऑडियंस, टू NADians, देन वी विल स्टॉप दिस सेशन.
Right, ji, thank you. All I would like to say is Indians, keep the faith, work hard, and don't get too complacent about staying in government jobs or in large companies. Uh, Follow your entrepreneurial and adventure spirit of adventure, and inshallah you'll do extremely well.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर. सो ऑडियंस प्लीज अपना फीडबैक दीजिए रिगार्डिंग टुडे सेशन और कमेंट्स में जरूर बताइए. इंशाल्लाह नेक्स्ट वीक हम लोग लाइव विद विल कम लाइव इंशाल्लाह विद द नेक्स्ट गेस्ट. थैंक यू वेरी मच.